friends. Welcome to episode 57 of School Librarians United. I am your host, Amy Herman. This podcast is dedicated to the issues and challenges school librarians face every day. As a school librarian, currently in my 13th year, I found myself asking the question, where is the podcast that will help me do my job? I wanted a podcast which addressed the nuts and bolts of running a successful library program. I don't claim to have the answers, but I hope that this is a platform to share resources and exchange ideas. Now is a perfect time to mention that all the ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast by myself and my interview guests are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. When incorporating research, I always make sure to cite my resources. So whether you're a novice or a veteran school librarian, this podcast is something for you. I'd like to extend a very special welcome this week to Robin in New York and Renee Amanda in Port of Spain, Trinidad. I'd also like to say welcome to Amanda in North Carolina. She has a rather remarkable story. Amanda writes, quote, I have been a teacher for 15 years, grades 2 and 3, and have now moved to the position of a librarian in my same school. I have been in the position for 1 week, and I am beginning classes to get my MLS. Needless to say, I have been very overwhelmed and just trying to figure it all out, end quote. Well, Amanda, I hope you'll forgive me for laughing a little. It just seems like all of us were dreading getting back to school at the beginning of the new year, and I cannot imagine the shell shock you have experienced, not only beginning a new year, but landing in a library, and you've been there for 1 week. So I do hope you take the time to go through season 1, especially of the podcast, because there are a great deal, many episodes, which I hope you will find helpful as you adjust to your brand new job in the library. Welcome. I welcome you and all listeners to reach out with your feedback and episode suggestions either on Facebook, Twitter, or the email address schoollibrariansunited@gmail.com. If you include your mailing address, I will be sure to send you a podcast sticker. Some of you may have noticed Jennifer Lagarde's article in School Library Journal posted on January 16, 2020, titled Expanding Library Collections to Meet the Needs of the Community. I'll include a link in the show notes. Jennifer profiled 4 remarkable school librarians who responded to the needs of their students by creating clever additions to their collection and programming. This was a fascinating read and really opened my eyes to what sorts of non-book items school libraries could circulate to support the needs and interests of our students. Jennifer concludes her article with several recommendations, and I'll quote, if you're ready to take the leap, here are some tips to get started. Step 1, listen and observe. Step 2, find a partner. Step 3, dream big, but start small. Step 4, focus on the rewards instead of the risk. Step 5, collect and share data. And I'll put in parentheses, this is so that you can justify funding when you get around to asking for it. Step 6 is connect with others doing this work. I love the coincidence of Jennifer Lagarde's article and today's interview guest. Joy Currie is a high school librarian in Michigan, and she created a terrific program in response to what she was observing in her young adults who were graduating. And now for today's episode, Adulting 101, Life Beyond High School, and my interview with Joy Currie. Hello, Joy. We met this past October at our state conference. I was really intrigued by your presentation, mostly because it reimagines our role in supporting our students. Do you think because we're school librarians, the presumption is that we're primarily here to promote our students' academic achievement?
I think maybe we put that own pressure on ourselves, but truthfully, the people around me really don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I kind of get to do whatever I want or whatever I define my role as. So it's really kind of a liberating position that I'm in. I think other librarians, we put a pressure on ourselves for lesson plans and, meeting state standards, which I do, but I can kind of make up my own rules as I go. My my administration is really supportive and they just think everything's awesome. So I'm really lucky that way.
Well, I imagine if your motivation is always to support your students and staff, the optics are fantastic. You really do come in and address issues that on a scale which, when you teach in a traditional classroom, you see your students. But when you consider all the students are your students, you get to service them all. I really am excited about this episode today because it is high school focused and it's not necessarily focused on our collections. So it really is a detour. Your presentation title is Adulting 101, Life After High School. Could you share for listeners what this program entails?
Sure. This is our second year. Our first year was just for seniors, but we have opened it up to juniors as well, so they kind of get a heads up. We bring in community partners. We bring in the counseling department, and then we just give them skills or talk about things that they need to know that aren't covered in the classroom so that they kind of have some grounding under their feet when they step out into the adult world, things that they might have gotten maybe in a home ec or life skills class that we no longer offer.
Oh, so you did, there actually was a need. I mean, you sensed this need not only in your students, but recognized a need because it's no longer offered.
Yeah, and we have so many students in our population that aren't really parented. They parent themselves. And so these kids are, eating out of the Quick Stop or from $5 pizzas. They don't know how to make a budget. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to wash their clothes. They don't know how to balance a bank book. They don't know any of that stuff at all, and they have no one to teach them.
It sounds like there was a light bulb moment. I know librarians and educators, we have sort of the entire spectrum of parents, from the helicopter parents who are so overbearing and controlling. What I'm accustomed to is parents who want to control what their children are checking out of the library, to the circumstance you're describing where students are given a great deal of growing up, ready or not.
Right. Yeah.
When did it occur to you that you have a role in guiding your oldest students as graduation and life after high school loomed?
I jokingly say I'm the bartender of the school, like that big desk, and everyone comes in and tells me their problems and everything that's going on. And I become like a surrogate parent to a lot of the kids. I just kind of collect them. And a lot of the seniors come in, and I've seen tears of kids just panicking. What are they going to do? They don't know what's happening in adulthood and they're not ready. And I was talking with one of our 9th grade teachers, and she was discussing how she sees these kids in 9th grade come in all rosy and young, and then suddenly they're so jaded and kind of lost, and we need to catch them somewhere. And we kind of came up with this idea.
So it sounds like you have an amazing approachability, that students come to you and recognize you as a resource, not just as a keeper of the books, but as some guidance, as somebody who clearly is someone to be trusted. And it sounds like it's desperately needed. Let's back up a little bit. Sure. I did mention you are in high school. Can you give us a little bit of background about your some of your teaching duties? And you did mention that it sounds like you have quite a bit of latitude when it comes to administrative expectations.
Sure. I'm in a 712 building, so I have middle school, high school, actually, which is crazy some days.
Yeah, that's unique.
Yeah, I have a huge programming lineup in the library. I'm pretty full every day. So I have book club. I sponsor NHS. I have the adulting club. I have a gaming club. And I also have the library open from 6:50 to 5 o'clock every day myself. It's like a 10-hour day for before and after school tutoring.
Well, pause. You are at school
Sure.
with students. I imagine it's because It's cold outside. You've arranged to have your building open so that students who are at school can be someplace warm and, be in a welcoming environment. My goodness, from 6:50 to what time did you say?
5:00.
Wow.
And
okay.
I will tell you,
truly dedicated.
I tell my kids, I love you, but I don't do it for free. I have very supportive administration, and so they compensate me, but I am willing to do it because exactly the kids would be standing out in the cold.
No, I think that I think it's fun because you and I did try to do this interview while you were at school, and I love that you are a dog owner like myself. I have edited my dogs in and out of a multitude of episodes, but when I tried to talk to you yesterday, you were busy on a Friday. On a holiday, Friday leading up to a holiday weekend, because your gamers were there.
Yeah, and they stay till 5:00 every Friday.
That's remarkable because on Friday afternoons, I think I've seen teachers leave the building faster than the students. I think that we are all so ready for the weekend that the idea of hanging out until 5:00 because your students love being there, and it's another family room for them to sit around and be with their friends. Your library is akin to a friend's basement where everybody can hang out and feel welcome.
I really try to make it a safe and welcoming environment. We've got a lot of kids who don't have a place, and so I want to be that place.
Well, it sounds like you're succeeding. And how lucky for you that your administrator recognizes the service that you're providing, because it really, the alternatives to shooing the children out, I say children, these are young adults, really doesn't support them in the way they need to at this point. And there's obviously a need. I love hearing about your programs. The gaming one is especially, can you tell me, are the kids playing online? Do you have consoles? I know esports is a very trendy thing in library programs these days.
We have online gamers, and they get together. We have our computers set up in banks, and they'll set up in teams and they play. We have 3 large Clever Touch boards, and they bring in their own consoles to plug in. We also have 3 D&D groups going right now. We have Magic the Gathering. We have Pokemon. I have a pile of board games, Uno, card games, Skip Bo, checkers, chess, you name it. I usually have depending on the weekend, 45 to 60 kids show up.
Oh my gosh, on a Friday afternoon. That's impressive. My own high school where my sons go, they're seniors, and one came home and said, "We're going to have a D&D club." And I thought, well, it's about time. It is about time. But the interesting thing is all of those oftentimes have different sponsors when the obvious place to congregate is the library. So I think that's really fantastic. The high school programming just absolutely fascinates me. School librarians oftentimes find themselves serving as social workers and life coaches for our students. I think that we are uniquely positioned to build those meaningful relationships over the course of many years. And for you, this is middle school and a high school relationship. Your program seems to be the perfect manifestation of all that you do for the kids, that you are now gently giving them the skills they're going to need, and you know they need them because of how well you've gotten to know them.
Yeah, I do end up feeling like a social worker a lot of the time.
And we need our social workers. Don't get me wrong. We need social workers. I don't think anybody's going to lose their job because you have stepped into this place where you can provide not just the location, but bringing in these speakers like this. So can you tell us, when you work, you mentioned the counseling department. How did you incorporate the staff in your building into this program?
Actually, last year it was kind of me in the Wild West. It was really crazy.
I don't think anybody noticed. I'm sure it went over well.
But my principal noticed, And so this year when we were I was assigned a PLC through the school, and I was assigned the senior PLC. So I got put on this PLC. We meet once a week with other principals and the counseling department to figure out how to boost our graduation rate and help our seniors succeed. And it was because of this program. And so that's when I really got to start pulling other people in, because I had more of a platform to voice what was going on in the program. Sure. And it's really taken off.
Wow. So your PLC in the school, the premise of it was, how do we support our seniors?
Yes.
That's really wonderful. And the optics of this program have got to be fantastic. Did your administration give you any sort of concern? Did they express any concerns? Did you have any issues that you needed to sort of work out before you started bringing in students? And I wonder, because I'm in my elementary brain, there would be permission slips involved and, clearance of these individuals to come and volunteer in your school.
Not really. Truthfully, I know they say this all the time, but I really live this way. Do it and then say, I'm sorry later, then ask for permission.
Yes.
And so we start it and then they go, oh, wow, that's working out, but how about if we do it this way or that way instead? Actually, with this one, we just kind of been rolling with it.
I think it sounds truly very organic, and it comes from a place of genuine need. So, and I can't imagine anybody ever turns you down when you say, I need you to give my soon-to-be adults in the world some guidance and to share your expertise. Could you tell me a little bit about the session topics that you've generated over the course of planning this program? So when students come to this adulting it's a club. It's an adulting club. When we join this club to become adults, like it or not, what kinds of session topics do you come up with?
So I just kind of threw it out there to people last year and this year, saying, you got an idea, let me know. Mm-hmm. And we've come up with a local landlord came in and talked about signing a lease and what that entails.
Oh, wow.
How to be a renter. We did car insurance and why you don't want to buy the cheapest car insurance. And a local insurance agent came in and talked to us. She actually graduated from her high school, so she was really excited. Miss Tia Bell and I, one of the other teachers at school, did a whole session on how to cook in a microwave if you're living in a dorm. And everybody got to try it. It was so fun. Everybody got to cut up their food, and we talked about food safety, and we talked about shopping on a budget. Let's see, what else? We had Michigan State University resident assistants come in and talk about dorm life. And we've had a local counselor come in and talk about relationships, high school relationships versus dating as an adult. We've had, taxes. We're going to this year for the first time have basic car maintenance and buying a used car, which I want to hear about.
Okay, I was going to say that I'm reliving my 23 and 24, and nobody was there to tell me any of this, and I know I made horrible mistakes.
I'm learning stuff. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. So right. I mean, we're just kind of going with it. The word is getting out. We're actually having people contact us. So we have a fraternity from MSU that's coming in to talk about how to be an adult man and man up to some of our boys.
Well, in the hashtag Me Too generation, I think that everyone is realizing that there are conversations that need to be had, both with our young women and our young men, about relationship expertise. And the idea that we have I think that there are real life consequences to the decisions we make, whether in this case, oftentimes in, like you said, a fraternity situation, sometimes those decision-making skills are compromised because we are under the influence of alcohol, etc. But I agree. The hashtag Me Too has put this on everybody's radar. As a parent of 17-year-old boys, I have a 20-year-old daughter. I am very aware that equipping our children, our young adults, with these skills and this awareness is really key. I wanted to ask you, is there anything about credit card use? Did you mention, or did I? Because credit card use seems to me like that is a place where a couple of us happen to mistook a debit card and a credit card, and yes, you can dig yourself into quite a hole.
Yes. Well, we have to. The one thing we do have to walk a fine line with is that we do have a consumer math class.
Oh, okay.
And so we try to not double dip on that class, and that's something that they cover. So some things that I've had ideas for, the teacher's like, well, I already cover that. So I'm like,
but
okay, fine.
This makes sense. I mean, you don't want to look like you are, it's presumptuous to say, yeah, but my kids need this, and apparently you're not doing a good enough job. I think that would send the wrong message altogether. But I really think, and you mentioned that the life skills class is no longer being offered by. Oh. We have such tight graduation requirements in the state that kids can't get in all of their just basic requirements. So. Right. And folks, we are in the state of Michigan, and Joy is her school is about I would want to say 2 hours away from the Metro Detroit area, but yes, we do have not only a lot of expectations for graduation, but a lot of testing seasons. And yes. I'm fairly certain life skills class would not be perceived as something that would come up on any standardized test our students are taking.
No, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. I think that when you offer the kinds of things that would have otherwise been addressed in a life skills class, it really does seem to support the fact that there's the need, but scheduling doesn't allow for it. You mentioned this already. When it comes to scheduling out this club and when these presenters come, that is your purview? This is what you do?
Yeah, kind of. I have Miss Tia Bell is our community outreach coordinator for the school, and she does quite a lot, and then I do too. We kind of tag team it.
Sure. What were some of the challenges in making this program a reality? Were you allocated any sort of budget support to do this, or are you sort of building this into all your library programming that's offered?
If it's not free, we don't do it, or it comes out of my pocket and Tia's pocket.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we've been doing it. We've had some people say, we'd love to come, we charge, whatever, and we're like, yep. Sorry, no.
Right.
This is for our kids, and you got to do it for free. So,
well, and I think if people appreciate the need and the circumstances involved, I would hope that community organizations would feel that this is a definitely a legitimate and deserving audience of the messages that these presenters have to give. Can you talk about how you went about recruiting the students who you feel would best receive this information and utilize it?
Sure. The first thing we did is we sent out a survey and senior lunch. So we asked them what would they like to learn about, what things were they stressed out over, and we gave them some ideas, and they could rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. So that kind of let them know. And then we just put up posters. We did announcements at the morning announcements. I went into senior classes and kind of talked it up. And it just was word of mouth. And then this year when we opened it for juniors, they were so excited because they'd already heard about it that we're running like 30, 35 kids on a Thursday afternoon.
Oh my gosh. And this is after school.
Yes.
Wow. that kind of, I mean, to be able, it's hard enough to bring them in when they're already physically in school, but you're asking them to stay after. Can I ask, are you a busing district? Do you have students who are expected to ride the bus home, or is this less of an issue?
We do, but my principal has provided me with bus tokens. So any student who stays in the library after school for anything that is promoted by the library, I have bus tokens for them so they can get a ride home.
That's sort of funding. It's funding adjacent when you are given something of monetary value that you can then hand out to your students. Because I think that is something, I know for some kids, they have after school commitments like sports, but basic transportation to and from school is not something that you can negotiate. So it sounds like you've come up with a rather elegant alternative. So I think that kind of problem solving is necessary for you to get 30 to 40 people in your library after school.
Well, I'll tell you what else we did to get them in is we are doing a punch ticket system. Mm-hmm. So if they come to 9 out of the 15 programs we're offering this year, they get a punch for each visit, and then they get in a drawing for prom tickets.
Oh, wow. And that's expensive.
That's the draw. That's the draw.
Well, and prom, I don't care where you live. Prom, there are many expenses involved with prom. The ticket is one, and the expectation that you're going to wear something fancy. But the ticket price, that would be huge. And again, turning to the resources you have available to you, like the school connections, to support this program, really does, highlight the commitment the school has made to you and your adulting club. I would love for your newspaper to pick up on this, because I really do think if community members recognized all the good that you are doing in your school to usher these students into adulthood with basic skills and knowledge, it really seems like this would be a really great way for community organizations to support our local youth.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there have been some ripple effect and individuals who have, because of this podcast, found themselves getting covered by local media. But that would be very exciting, because it really, organizations want to support our kids, and finding an organization, finding a program like your club that already is in place and has clearly a very receptive audience. All they have to do is recognize that they need to support this group, and I really think that it would do your community a service as well. Can I ask you? There are high school librarians listening. What advice would you give to a high school librarian saying, "Yep, we need something like this in my school"? What would you recommend when it comes to somebody trying to do this from scratch?
I don't know. Really, all I do is I just kind of jump in blindly. That's kind of how I run my library. Mm-hmm. I just jump in blindly. I get an idea, you start, and see what works for you. You just never know. The biggest thing that I did is I just got on the phone and started cold calling people. Mm-hmm. And I had not one person say no. Mm-hmm. I think people want to help.
Right. So it sounds like you have to have good intentions and a great deal of courage.
And just jump in. That's how I kind of do everything. If it doesn't work, what's the worst? I tried, Oh, I congratulate you. I think that this is wonderful. And I know that when people sat in on this presentation in October, you really did inspire a lot of high school librarians to recognize the potential that we have to have an impact that is beyond academics, but into adult life. I'm going to include a link to your presentation in our show notes.
when it comes to your programming, I don't want to leave without showcasing some of the other exciting things that you do with your students. You mentioned book club. I know that is a struggle. I've talked to high school librarians, and I'm aware that when you have, since I have you on the line here, when you do your book clubs, give us an idea. How do you do that when you have multiple lunches and obviously different interests in your readers? I guess it's two questions.
It's after school again. We do it after school because multiple lunches, it would kill us. And my lunchtime is full. Like I have probably about 80 to 100 kids come in for lunch every day. So there's no quiet. It's not quiet in my library.
It's like
ever.
Grand Central Station.
Oh, gosh, yes. So we do book club after school. We've done it different ways. There are times when we really promoted it and had, 50, 60 kids show up. And it was crazy. There wasn't a lot of reading or anything going on. And some of my high schoolers got annoyed because they didn't want seventh graders.
Well, and that actually leads to something else I wanted to ask you about, because so book clubs and after school, that solves the lunch problem. You do have an even broader array of ages and maturity levels. And yes. I know that we've not been talking about your collection until this question, but here's a question about your collection.
Sure.
I have had, I've understood high school, I understand middle school, I understand elementary, and then middle school is sort of blurry because like our fifth graders are going to the middle school next year, so that collection is going to have to shift. How do you make accommodations for your seventh and eighth graders when many of your, especially when we're talking about fiction, it's young adult?
Well, I have just come to the feeling that this is the collection and it's all one collection.
Okay.
And I have all different reading levels. I have all different interests. We have our fiction by genre, and they can just go in and look. There are some books I would not book talk to middle schoolers. When they're checking out, there are some that I might say just on the way, you might not find this book interesting. But I don't separate them out.
Okay.
I feel like if the book's there and they're interested in it, I'm not going to tell them no. I would hope that I don't have anything on my shelf that if a seventh grader picked it up, it would be just so shocking, So.
Wow. Well, and I think that each of us, when we look at our own collections and the populations we serve and the community that we serve, I think we have to take so many of those things into consideration that solutions that might work in my community and my library may not be ideal in somebody else's. You have been fantastic, and I appreciate it. Folks, we have been slammed here in Michigan with a snowstorm, and both of us are recording and trying to ignore the snowblowers and the humans who are in our house right now. So I do appreciate you being so willing to record today. Can you tell me if we want to follow you on social media, how would we find you?
Well, let me tell you, you have inspired me because I'm not a big social media person, but I have decided as of this week, I am inventing my own persona now.
Oh, good.
So if you want to follow me on Instagram, I am now the Viking Librarian.
Awesome.
Because we are the Everett Vikings. So Viking, the Librarian. And then I am on Twitter at Joy Currie 5.
Okay.
So
can I ask, your Instagram will be a school-based and broadcast your, and using and having a dedicated account to promote your school library is key. And as Amanda Jones in an episode we did on social media will tell you, it is one of the best ways to promote your program and find wonderful sources of funding when people recognize all the good that you're doing. So I applaud your efforts. I truly do. And I hope that you find future success in this program, because I know that as evidenced by all the students who are coming to your program in your library every day, you are very well loved and well appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate your time, and good luck shoveling out this afternoon.
Yes. Thanks. You too.
Thank you. I am so grateful to Joy and all my guests who take time out of their busy evenings and Saturday afternoons to share their expertise and strategies and resources with all of us. If you found this episode helpful, please share it out with your team, your PLN, and on social media. Join me next week when my guest, Tamiko Brown, shares her strategies for a curriculum-connected makerspace, as well as other exciting and innovative programs in her library. I hope you will tune in.